Hey, what is happening, guys? Thank you for tuning in to Rules for Rebels. I've seen one common question showing up again and again and again in comments, in emails I'm getting, and especially on things like Quora and Reddit and all types of different forums. And that question is, am I too late to get into Bitcoin? So that's what we're going to be addressing today. At the end of the day, only you can make that call for yourself. But I realize, a lot of you guys who are new to the space may be looking for some advice or some guidance on whether now's a good time to get in, etc. So I'm going to be giving you guys some things to think about, and I'm going to be kind of addressing that question, is it too late to get into Bitcoin? Now, in just a second, I'm going to take you guys over to a screencast. But one thing I just wanted to touch on really quickly is, at its core, this channel is a channel about entrepreneurship, and maybe a little bit about like investing and self-improvement and stuff like that. But I know I've been getting more into the crypto stuff lately. If any of you guys feel like I'm going too heavy on the crypto stuff and you want to see more entrepreneurship stuff, at any time, drop me an email, drop a comment below a video. Just let me know. I do have a crypto channel I set up that I occasionally post on. But for the most part, I mean, we have a big community here. We have a big audience here. And like if I make a video, I kind of want it to be seen. I know a lot of you guys are into crypto, but if any of you guys feel like I'm kind of going overboard with the crypto stuff, drop a comment, let me know. I do have some good, more kind of entrepreneurial, making money online type stuff coming out. I'm going to be releasing November numbers, set a new personal record in terms of t-shirt sales, as well as commissions. I want to say we're over $500 in commissions. So I think for 4 or 5 straight months, we've seen consistent growth, and every month I've been setting new personal records for that. Have some Amazon tips and things like that to share with you guys. Have some drop shipping stuff I'm going to be putting out here in the near future. Going to be doing some Shopify stuff. And I'm really interested in the crypto space, so that's why you're seeing a lot of crypto stuff. Also, I have some business projects in the works. A lot of it is kind of in the crypto space, both from the e-commerce end, and me and my business partner are even potentially talking about, without giving away too much, maybe opening up like a place where people can buy Bitcoin. We kind of have a creative spin on it, but I do have some projects in the works, and maybe I'll kind of be documenting that stuff as well. So without further ado, let's hop right on into this. Okay guys, so back with you. So again, in today's video, I wanted to address a question of, am I too late to the party? Is it too late to buy Bitcoin? So one of the first things I wanted to say is keep in mind that exchanges often take time to set up a profile, especially now with so many new signups. Thanksgiving weekend, Coinbase saw 100,000 new people sign up for accounts. As a new account, in addition to just signing up and getting your information verified, which sometimes manually has to be done, which means it could be like weeks worth of a backlog to get you on. Even if you're lucky enough to get on right away, you're oftentimes limited to maybe $100 per week by credit card, and or maybe $3,000 per week or per month, even with a bank transfer. So you can get these limits raised by uploading an ID, giving your social security number, attaching a credit card to your account, connecting a bank account, etc. But still, it's going to take some time to get your limits raised. I would suggest setting up accounts on multiple exchanges. That way, if Coinbase gives you trouble, you have Gemini. If Gemini has low limits, you can buy on Gemini and Coinbase, etc. I will drop a link in the comment section below to both Gemini and Coinbase. I think those are probably the two best known, most regulated, best insured, most widely used, and most user-friendly as well places to buy Bitcoin. I do have an affiliate link for Coinbase. If you buy $100 or more worth of Bitcoin or load $100 more onto the site, you get $10 free. I'll get $10 as well. I'm not an affiliate for Gemini, but I do think very highly of them as well. Your USD funds on there are FDIC insured, so just like a bank account. Your Bitcoin and crypto is not, though the company is insured, but your USD funds, your fiat money, is FDI insured, so it's just FDIC insured, so it's just as good as a bank account. But by having accounts with multiple exchanges, if one gives you any trouble, you have others. Also, if you have low limits, you have others as well. Even if you're not ready to buy, but you're kind of on the fence, I would recommend starting the process of getting accounts set up. That way, maybe Bitcoin dips down to $8,000 next week, and rather than scrambling to, oh my gosh, what an opportunity to get in at a lower price, oh, but I can't, my account's not set up, or I have a $100 a week limit. If you start getting your accounts established now, there's no commitment to buy Bitcoin, but at least you're set up and ready to go, should a buying opportunity present itself. So we would definitely recommend doing that. Also, another thing you can do, you can start loading US dollar funds onto your Coinbase or Gemini account. You have like a USD wallet. So by doing that, if I have 2 grand sitting in my Coinbase account, maybe I load it up, right? Well, I'm not committed to buying Bitcoins. I'm not riding the wave of Bitcoins. But should I see an opportunity to buy, in the snap of a finger, I can put my money into the market. So just something to think about. If you're on the fence, if you're even mildly interested, I would recommend getting accounts set up and maybe even loading some USD, even if you're not quite ready to buy Bitcoins. Another option, you can buy off sites like Local Bitcoins or Paxful, which are peer-to-peer sites. You can buy off people on Craigslist. I would recommend new people start on exchanges just because there's some accountability. They're regulated. It's more user-friendly. Local Bitcoins and even more so Craigslist, you kind of might leave yourself open to getting scammed. I have a buddy who jumped into cryptocurrency, with both feet, was very enthusiastic, started trying to buy and sell with individuals. He met somebody at a grocery store, bought $500 from him. This person had done a double spend, which means they essentially sent a transaction to their friend and then also one to my friend at the exact same time. And at that point, it's kind of off to the races in terms of which transaction will get cleared first. And my buddy wound up leaving and having already given the guy $500. And what potentially could happen is the transaction that this guy sent to his friend first winds up getting 6 confirmations first, and my buddy's left having paid this guy $500 and having nothing. So at least dealing with like a reputable business will ensure that you're not scammed. Local Bitcoins is pretty good in that it uses like an escrow system. If you buy from somebody off Craigslist, you are totally on your own, and you have to make sure you know what you're doing to make sure that you don't get scammed by somebody. There's other sites out there like CoinMama that'll let you buy with credit card and or Western Union. You're typically going to pay higher fees for using things like Local Bitcoins. Craigslist, you can sometimes find some deals. Sites like CoinMama, etc., you might be paying 12 or 14%, whereas Coinbase you can buy for 1.25%. If you put your money onto Coinbase and then move it over to GDAX, you can trade. Even if you trade market orders, it's 0.25%, so 1/4%. If you set limit orders, they use what's called a maker-taker model. So if you set a market order, you're a taker. If you set a limit order, you're a maker, and you can actually trade with 0 fees. So just something to keep in mind. In regards to whether now is the best time to invest in Bitcoin, kind of a general rule of investment is, generally speaking, the best time to invest is yesterday, and the best time after yesterday to invest is today. I realize a lot of people want to try to time the market and get in at a good time. Almost nobody can successfully time the market. Most people wind up paying more than they would have if they just got in. If you're hesitant to get in at these highs, one other thing I would suggest you keep in mind. Right now I'm getting a little bit nervous about the stock market. I'm not sure exactly where the market is. I believe it's over 24,000. To be quite honest, I used to be pretty interested in stocks, and ever since I got into cryptos, I've kind of lost interest and don't really check. I mean, I do, invest in Vanguard and index funds and things like that. But I've become much less interested in stocks, so I'm not really that on top of the market. But I believe it's over 24,000. Keep in mind, ever since like 16,000, 17,000, 18,000, there have been a lot of people saying, oh, the market's too high, there's nothing to back it up, it's going to crash. And all those people who pulled out their money back at 15,000, 16,000, they have missed all these gains and all this run up to 24,000. And even now, people are saying the market's too high. Well, if the market goes to 28 or 30,000, people are going to miss out on those gains as well. So I get wanting to time the market. Very few people are able to do it successfully. One thing that I personally do, and I think most people would recommend, is what's called dollar cost averaging. You may see people on Reddit or other forums refer to this as DCA. So the idea of dollar cost averaging is, okay, every week I'm going to set up an automatic withdrawal from my bank account to go into GDAX or Coinbase or whatever and buy $100 worth of Bitcoin a week, and maybe 25 worth of Ethereum, and maybe 25 worth of Litecoin. So every week, like clockwork, I'm automatically making those buys. Now, obviously the price of Bitcoin can swing pretty wildly in a week. Maybe today Bitcoin is worth, just for nice round numbers, we'll say 2 grand. And tomorrow it's 1,800. I may be kicking myself. Oh, I wish I wouldn't have I wish I wouldn't have made the automatic buy and waited to buy in tomorrow cheaper. If you really want a dollar cost average, like to the extreme, you can even set up automatic buys every day. So rather than buying, $700 per week, once a week, you can set it up to buy $100 worth of Bitcoin every single day. But that's the idea of dollar cost averaging. With dollar cost averaging, you're getting in gradual amounts over time. So over the long term, those purchases are going to kind of even out, and you're going to kind of average your price in. And what you can then do, because you do have money sitting on the sidelines, if a buying opportunity does present itself, if Bitcoin, flash crashes and loses, 20%, 30% overnight, then you can jump in heavy with some other money and then continue dollar cost averaging after that. But again, you're most likely not going to time the market, so you're better off just kind of getting in right away. To anybody who says it's too high to get in, again, people have been saying that since Bitcoin was $30. People said that at $500, at $1,000. I kind of already gave the example of people calling a stock market correction at 16,000 and it continuing to run up to 24,000. In regards to buying at all-time highs, because right now, if you were to buy today, you're buying at an all-time high. I think Bitcoin went up to 11,800. I may be off by a couple bucks. I actually sold a little bit today. Long story short, this past Thursday, I had a little bit of money sitting in cash. Bought 100 Litecoins, made I think $3 and some change off those. Sold them. Then set a very, very low limit order, which is kind of another strategy of mine. If you're kind of hesitant to get in, what you can do is set a really low limit order. So just for example, let's say Bitcoin's trading at 11,000 right now. I may set a limit order at 10,200. Well, it's very unlikely that that order is going to hit. If you ever look at the charts, you'll see what they call candlesticks, right? Green and red candlesticks. And you'll see thick candlesticks, and occasionally you'll see a really skinny like wick going off that candlestick, either up or down. Now, to be quite honest with you, I don't necessarily understand what that means. I think maybe for just a flash of a second, the only orders out there to be had are either really low or really high orders, and sometimes they hit. But the other day I had one set for 8,500. The market got down to 8,570. And this is just a couple days ago, right? We're sitting at almost 12 grand. And I'm talking about 2, 3, 4, 5 days ago, whatever. It was down to 85.7. So I missed hitting that one by $70. But I took these Litecoin profits in this cash that I already had sitting. I set a market order for, I think it was 9,500. That 9,500 hit. And then literally within like minutes, I was up $1,000 already. So sometimes if I'm open to selling, I'll set a ridiculously high limit order to sell. So example, right now we're sitting at about, we'll say 12 grand for round numbers, even though it's like 11.8. I might set a limit order for, I don't know, 12.8. And if that one happens to hit, my thinking behind that is with such a quick rise, we'll often see a pullback. So I might try to sell at 12.8 and then set a really low limit order to buy back in. This is kind of a dangerous game to play. A lot of times you'll wind up having to buy back in at a higher price than you were holding from at the beginning. But again, I do have some Bitcoins that I'm not going to touch for years. This is just kind of, some play money or some swing trading money that I'm open to trading with. But in regards to people buying at all-time highs, anybody who's bought in the last month or even 60 days has most likely bought in at an all-time high, and yet they've seen the price continue to run up even higher. That said, I do think anytime we have like a huge run up, if we go from 9 grand to 12 grand over the course of a day, I think it's almost to be expected, and I think it's healthy that we see a little bit of a pullback. So I'm not saying not to buy at all-time highs, but if we surge to an all-time high, that's a really big jump and really quickly, oftentimes a pullback will come. One other thing I would add to this, if you're getting in for the first time, start watching the market now, kind of start getting used to these wild swings. I saw kind of a funny meme on Reddit the other day. I kind of hate all these memes on Reddit, whereas I would like the Bitcoin Reddit subforum, or subreddit I should say, to be more informational. It does kind of turn into a big circle jerk of everybody like, rah, rah, new high, I'm never selling, Bitcoin only goes up. I hope Bitcoin loses 50% overnight so that I can buy more. It turns into this big like circle jerk, and it almost seems like people are certain that everybody's going to get rich off this. And keep in mind that it is an experiment. Even Andres Antonopoulos, I'm probably pronouncing his name wrong, kind of the godfather of Bitcoin, really prominent kind of speaker and authority figure in Bitcoin. He tells people, don't look at Bitcoin as an investment, but that's not to say you can't make money. He kind of jokingly says, if there'll only ever be 21 million Bitcoins. If countries continue to print their money to worthlessness, which literally every country in the world does, Bitcoin should theoretically only become more and more valuable. My point in saying all this is a lot of people, they buy in and then they see, within minutes or a day or whatever, they see themselves lose hundreds of dollars, and their first inclination is to sell. Oh my gosh, I knew I bought in too high, I should sell. And in reality, it's just a normal part of it. Like I said, I saw a funny meme on Reddit that said, if you can't handle my my 20% pullbacks. You don't deserve my 500% increases. And I have kind of a funny story. I bought my dad his first Bitcoin back in, I don't know, it was probably August or September. Bitcoin was trading at 4,500. I actually got him his Bitcoin for $200 under market value. I bought it from at 4,300. I have a buddy who has a gaming site that accepts Bitcoin. So, you know, he's making Bitcoin. It's all profit to him. So he'll give me deals. Sometimes I can buy 2, 3, 4, if he's feeling generous, even $500 under spot price of Bitcoin. So I got the Bitcoin from my dad. So he was already, from the very second he bought it, he was already up 200 bucks. It continued to run up to, I think, close to 6 grand. Then we saw that pull back down to what, 3,200 or whatever. And my dad's like, Johnny, man, what did you get me into? Da, da, da. And he was initially wanting to, you know, take some of his retirement, like 50 grand, and put it into it. And I knew that he didn't have the stomach for it. So I said, you know, just buy one for now, get into it. And recently it was like, oh, I wish I would have bought more, blah, blah, blah. But if my dad isn't savvy enough to know how to sell his coins, if he wants to sell, I would have to help him with it. But I think, you know, were he not technologically inferior to the point where he can't sell his coins, I think there were a couple times when it pulled back when he would have sold it. It always seems to come back. If you've been in this for a while, you've seen it. So don't freak out and sell when you're down a little bit of money, because most likely it will come back. Which brings me to my next point. FOMO is real. FOMO is fear of missing out. Don't let your emotions get ahead of you and let you make poor decisions. Well, things could run sky high. There are often pullbacks. So what I mean by that is right now we're sitting at 12 grand. There's some people like, well, I have to get in now before it goes to 15. With this quick recent run up, I wouldn't be surprised if we see a pullback down into the 10,600, something like that. So if you want to get in, but keep in mind, you know, and it's very true. It could continue running up to 20 grand without ever pulling back, but I wouldn't be shocked to see a pullback. What I oftentimes recommend people do is start dollar cost averaging, just to kind of get your feet wet, get some skin in the game, and then maybe on a pullback, you got some money sitting on the sidelines in which you can go in a bit heavier. Have a plan going in. Without a plan, people make stupid decisions and emotional decisions. Know what price you want to get in at, know what price you want to get out at. And while I'm not saying that you can't be flexible, because the market is constantly changing, there's always different news coming out and things like that. Have a plan going in, have an exit plan if you even plan to exit, and try to stick to that. Because when you start to deviate from that, is when you start to make mistakes, is when you start to lose money. And generally, your gut decision is the right one. Don't take advice from people online or Reddit or YouTube, which, why are you making this video if you're telling me not to take your advice? But anybody on the internet can say anything. There's a lot of people out there who talk very eloquently, but who, based off the things they say, I can tell don't have a clue what the fuck they're talking about. So be very careful whose advice you listen to. The Bitcoin community can also become kind of a circle jerk of people who say, never sell, I'll never sell, I'll never spend any Bitcoins. Well, what's the point of making money on paper if you're never actually going to realize these gains? So that's a pretty stupid mentality. Like, I get the hold mentality, like, look, I'm not going to trade, I'm not going to take small profits, I'm in this for the long term. I get that. But somebody who says I'm never going to sell, well, if you're never going to sell and you're never going to spend these coins, what's the point of getting rich on paper? Also, in my opinion, it is not silly to take out your initial investment, and even potentially some profits as you go along. Now, if you're somebody who continues to buy, which I tend to do, it is sort of silly, I guess, to sell, because I sold some Bitcoins at 5 grand and I'm buying today. So I'm paying more than twice. I'm paying double the price for what I could have just had I held on to them. However, emotionally, I think it works out better for me. On some of these dips, I haven't had the confidence to buy in, because I'm like, look, I'm already pretty heavy into Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. Do I really, and typically when prices are low and when opportunity is there, it's when things are looking kind of dark, right? Like either after China banned exchanges or whatever else. So a lot of times the reason that the price drops is because there's some instability or whatever. And if you're already heavily invested to the brim, you may not either have the funds or may not have the confidence to invest heavier. So I find by selling and taking some profit over time, and then continuing to dollar cost average in, and knowing that I've taken out some profits and I'm not going to lose my own money, I'm essentially playing with house money, I'm a little bit more comfortable going in on dips. So that's kind of a decision that you're all going to have to make for yourself. But don't necessarily fall into this. People seem to take the attitude that Bitcoin can only go up, up, and up. And in reality, I mean, while I don't think it's likely, at the end of the day, this is still an experiment. This is still young. I mean, all it takes is for the government to say Bitcoin's financing terrorism and shut down the exchanges, and Bitcoin goes to shit. Now, I don't think that's likely, but I think, you know, if you take some profit out along the way, that'll be less of a concern to you. Never trade on margin. This is an unregulated market. There's no stopgap measures like with the stock market or commodities markets. Your positions can be liquidated on a flash crash and you can lose everything. With the stock market, things shut down at a 25% drop, and this is to stop this from happening. In regards to trading, people try, but few can time the market. Most people who wind up selling wind up buying back in at higher prices. Also keep in mind, if you're going to continue buying, kind of like I said before, why sell? Because you're just going to wind up buying it back at higher prices. But I kind of explained my mentality in terms of doing that. Like I said, one caveat to this is if after a fast rise we often see a pullback. I have a certain amount of coins I'm holding for the long term that I won't sell for years, but I do have some play money, and like I said, I'll set very, very high limit orders and hope that they hit. And then if it surges really quick, I might try to buy some really, really cheap on a pullback. And in regards to flash crashes, sometimes that can be unique to one market. You know, it's possible that on Bitfinex or some other market, a bunch of people's like limit orders are triggered and that drops the price. So not all markets trade at the same price. One market can have a flash crash when another one doesn't. So that's kind of why this is so dangerous. I think I gave the example the other day. I picked up some Litecoin, made a couple $100 off a swing, then set a really low limit order at 9,500, picked up a Bitcoin at that price, and then I sold half of it this morning actually at 11,700. If it continues to run, yeah, I'll kick myself a little bit for selling it, but you know, if we pull back to 10,500 or something like that, I can buy back in, and I'm gaining Bitcoin by doing that. Total kind of off topic, but right now there's very few altcoins I'm in. I've sold off a lot of positions. One interesting thing about trading Litecoin or trading altcoins is a lot of times you're losing Bitcoins, but you're making dollars. Now, I'll give you an example. Right now, Bitcoin's rising so fast. There's a handful of altcoins that are really gaining on Bitcoin, to where if you bought the altcoin and then sold it, you've gained Bitcoins. It really depends on how you're looking at your profits and what you're trying to do. Are you trying to gain dollars, or are you trying to accumulate Bitcoin? So I'll give you an example. I buy Litecoin at $100. Bitcoin raises $3,000. If I sell that Litecoin, it's very possible I get less Bitcoin when I sell it than what I bought in for, but because Bitcoin is worth $3,000 more, I've actually gained USD. The caveat to that is unless I plan on selling, you know, unless you plan on selling, if you plan on selling for fiat, gaining dollars is good. If you plan on holding, you never want to sell an altcoin for less Bitcoin than you bought it in for, because your goal should be to accumulate more and more Bitcoin. But like I said, right now there are very few altcoins that are gaining faster than Bitcoin. Let's see. Have in mind whether you're looking for a quick flip or a long-term investment. In the long run, in my humble opinion, Bitcoin will run higher. I treat Bitcoin almost like a savings account. Unlike the dollar, which loses money to inflation, there will never be more Bitcoin. As Andres Antonopoulos says, you shouldn't view Bitcoin as an investment. However, when every country is driving their money to ship by overprinting, there will only be so many Bitcoins. So because of the scarcity, theoretically, it should continue rising in price. So something to think about there. It's much easier for those who have been in a game for a while to sit through volatility. If you bought Bitcoin within the past month or past 6 weeks, you have already more than doubled your money. Even if Bitcoin lost 50% overnight, well, that's still your money you're losing. You're still actually up money, right? You're still profitable even after losing 50% of your investment, because it's more than doubled. People who bought in months ago or even more, years ago are set up better than people who are getting in now for a Bitcoin crash. I mean, for example, if you bought into Bitcoin for the first time at we'll say 12,000 and it goes to 10,000, you're going to be like, oh crap, I lost, over 20, or I don't know if it's over. I lost around 20%. I lost $2,000. Whereas people who've been in this for a while, look, I'm already up 8 grand per coin. It falls 2 grand. I'm still up 6 grand per coin. That said, keep in mind, even if you're playing with house money, it's still your money. I see a lot of people who are like, oh yeah, this is house money. I don't care if I lose it all. Like, I get that it's a little bit easier to take when it's house money, but at the same time, if you have 10 grand profit sitting in Bitcoin, that is theoretically still your money. That is money you could pull out and buy a nice used car. That is money you could pull out and pay your mortgage for the next 6 or 8 months. So even though it is house money, and I do get that mentality, At the end of the day, keep in mind that is your money that stands to be lost. That is a year of mortgage payments or whatever else. And then lastly, altcoins, they do, I think, have more room for growth, theoretically. Many people regret not being one of those stories about the guy who invested $100 into Bitcoin and now has $1 million. Well, I still think Bitcoin has much more room to run and grow. I do think the opportunity to make those like 1,000% gains, 5,000% gains, etc. I do think those opportunities are going to be had buying altcoins, but keep in mind, with altcoins, there's more reward, but there's also more risk as well. And very few altcoins seem to be keeping pace with Bitcoin. Keep in mind, the majority of altcoins and ICOs are garbage. And keep in mind that even the good ones oftentimes don't keep pace with Bitcoins. Do your research, diversify into good coins. If one takes a moonshot, you can hopefully make some shekels off that. There are some altcoins out there that will essentially like pay dividends. Navcoin is 5% that you can earn each year by staking your coins. Neo, I want to say, is like 8%, maybe even upwards to 11%. I know Nav has some system, or not Nav, ARK has some system where you basically select a delegate and vote for it. I don't really understand the whole thing, but you can earn some pretty good returns that way too. So there are some opportunities with altcoins where you can sit in them and kind of make dividends and things like that as well. So now the question that everybody's wondering about, is it too late to get into Bitcoin? If I were getting into Bitcoin for the first time, if I were like really anxious to get into the market, I may make a purchase of $100 or a couple $100 and set up a recurring weekly buy through Coinbase. You do that in your Coinbase account by making a purchase, and then there's a button that you can click that says repeat this buy, and you can do either weekly, daily, monthly, etc. You can also go to the tools section and set up recurring buys. One interesting thing about that, I think I made a video about this a while back. With Bitcoin, you can set up recurring buys through the tools section. With Litecoin and Ethereum, for some reason, there's kind of a glitch where you can't set up a recurring buy through the tools section. What you have to do is make a buy and then click that tab that says repeat this bi-weekly. Now the question everybody's wondering about, though, is it too, just answer the question already. You've rambled for 24 minutes and 26 seconds. Is it too late to buy Bitcoin? No, I would say start dollar cost averaging, wait for a pullback. If you see a pullback that you think is an opportunity, go in a little bit heavier. If you're kind of on the fence, like I said, get your account set up, get some money into those accounts, and wait for a pullback. I'm sure there will be a pullback or a correction at some point. What's kind of interesting, we have the futures market that's going to start trading December 18th. I believe the date's been officially announced. We could see a big run up leading up to that. However, once that happens, that could bring a lot of volatility into the market as well, which could create some buying opportunities. My price prediction by the end of the year, I don't know if I posted it or not. I made a video the other day saying 14,000. We've been running up pretty quickly. I'm actually going to up that to 15, possibly 16,000 by the end of the year, which is only, 27, 28 days away. In 2018, my price target for the end of 2018 is going to be $25,000. Actually, I shouldn't say by the end, because Bitcoin goes up, Bitcoin goes down, but I do think we'll hit $25,000 at some point in 2018. And if Bitcoin continues to run, I mean, we could potentially hit 25,000, before the end of the year within the next 90 days. But I'm going to say sometime in 2018, I do think we'll hit 25,000. So, even though you may feel late to the game, I think Bitcoin's only going to continue to grow. One thing to think about, and I was going to make a video about this, but I was running some numbers, right? So peep this. So there are only ever going to be 21 million Bitcoins. In the world, there are, roughly, I'm going to say as of 2015 or 2017, 15.8 million millionaires. So let me repeat that again. The number of millionaires in the world is 15,800,000. We have 21 million Bitcoins. About 20% of the Bitcoins that have currently been mined have been lost. So I'm going to use nice round numbers here. It's probably a little bit less than this. But we'll say out of the 16 some odd Bitcoins, 16 million some odd Bitcoins that have been mined, 20% have been lost. We'll say that's 3 million. So 21 million minus 3 million brings it down to 2019, 18 million. Satoshi has 1 million Bitcoins. So we got to subtract another million. That brings us down to 17. Now keep in mind that there's a lot of people out there who have more than one Bitcoin. There's also some whales out there who have many Bitcoins. So I'm going to say that that's probably 2 to 3 million. So we're down to what? 21, 2019, 18, 17, 16, 15, 14. So there's probably 14 million or probably significantly less Bitcoins out there that are available, so to speak. There's 15.8 million millionaires. Now, there's no guarantee that Bitcoin is going to become like a must-have asset class for everybody, but there is a lot of interest in Bitcoin. If Bitcoin does continue to grow and become kind of an asset class that everybody wants to have, which it's outside of the control of central governments. There will never be more printed. It makes everybody a bank. It brings banking to the however many billion people in the world are unbanked. Only 6% of the world's population has traditional banking. So this brings banking to Africa and all types of other places where individuals don't have banking. Bankers don't care about poor people. Bankers make most of their money ripping off poor people. Bitcoin is revolutionary to the financial world. And if it does become a serious asset class, there are not enough Bitcoins in the world for every existing millionaire to have a Bitcoin. So, I don't know, that just makes me very optimistic about the future of Bitcoin. I do not think it's too late to buy into Bitcoin, but be smart, have a plan going in. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you found this video helpful. And if you guys have any questions, thoughts, comments, you want to share your opinion, your predictions, or anything else, please drop it in the comment section below. If you enjoyed the video, please thumbs up, please share. And if you're not subscribed to my channel, please click that subscribe button below the video, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. Always a pleasure interacting and chatting with you guys in the comment section. And I will catch you guys on the next video.